My dad always told me when I was a kid, he said, there's a fine line between brave and stupid, son. Because some of the things that I did. And then he began to define what was the difference between brave and stupid. And anyway, I came across this deal on Facebook that somebody posted, and I clicked on it and watched it, and there was a bunch of young people in a bathroom. You could tell it was a bathroom because there was a shower, they had the water running, and a young guy had taken his shirt off, and he was taking lighter fluid. And they thought it was funny, pouring it all over him. Now, this is the difference between brave and stupid. And I thought, no, you're really not going to do that, are you? And all of a sudden, he lit a match, and he went up in flames, and he started screaming. It was as if he never thought it was going to burn. I didn't get it. And then he jumps into the shower and he's flopping all over the floor trying to get all the fire out. Don't go home and do this, please. But there's a major difference between brave and stupid. There's some stupid things that we do. And I know some of the parents are saying, and they're looking at me like, why are you using this word stupid? We told our children, don't ever use the word stupid. But there's a difference. I mean, it's major. Well, this kid had set him on fire because he was challenged by somebody to do something that was really stupid. But he didn't think his way through it. And I almost laughed, but then it was almost at the place that, man, this is real, man. This is something that's affecting this kid, and he's done something that he can't reverse now. Once he struck the match, he couldn't reverse it. He's in flames, and now he's beating himself. I mean, it was like this frenzy, trying to reverse what he did. A lot of times in our life, there are things that we do that we get into a frenzy and I almost wanted to show it, but I couldn't find it on my Facebook anymore. But we get into a frenzy trying to put out what we already did, what we lit. And it might be too late at that moment because all the fumes of the lighter fluid had already ignited. And he was in trouble. Rolling on the floor, people beating on him, people that was encouraging, yeah, you could do it, you could do it. And now they're beating on him, trying to put the fire out, realizing that all of them were stupid. Who you hang around with is going to determine whether you're going to get caught on fire or not. All right. I'm going to have to listen to that one more time. Who you hang out with, who you listen to that puts into your life, can either cause you in a moment of stupidity, a moment of not thinking something through, to cause you to be in danger. And we're talking about that in the natural, but in the spiritual, in our soul, we can be affected that way also. I was looking here in the book of John, and it tells about a story about Jesus going to a well. He's got all of his disciples with him. He's got the religious group with him. The church folk is with him. But Jesus didn't have access to Samaria through the religious crowd. He can only find access through an individual that can make an impact in that Samaria area. And so we find in the stories that this story here in about verse 16, Jesus said unto the woman, he says, go call thy husband and come thither. And the woman answered and said, I have no husband. And Jesus said unto her, thou hast well said. In other words, Jesus right now is being the prophet. And he's saying, I see everything that you have done. I know who you are. I know what's going on. And up until this point, the word says that the woman came from a high place and came down to the well. And she came to the well with an attitude. She comes to the well. Jesus is sitting at the well. And she begins to bark at him before he even says anything to her. Now, I have to say this, that people that are hurt or have been wounded in life have a defense up. That no matter if you're trying to be nice to a person or not, they're going to bark at you. It's like this. If you are trying to do a good deed and save somebody from drowning, you have just now engaged in the biggest fight of your life. You try to help somebody that's drowning, they're going to beat you to death. Because they're in a panic. They're desperate. They're needing life. They need oxygen. They're panicking. And they're gonna fight you, even though that it's a good deed that you're going to do. You've just engaged in a major fight. Not against them, and they're not against you, but they're just trying to fight for their life. Some people that are hurting or in that kind of condition where that no matter, because they've been hurt so many times, that they're going to bark at you before you even able to ask them a question. And so the woman comes to the well. She comes down to the well, and Jesus is sitting there, and he's saying, "Hey, can you give me a little bit of water here?" And she's barking at him, and she's just laying it on him, and she's saying all kinds of stuff about her religious condition and religious stance. And Jesus is seeing through all this stuff. How many of you know God can see through everything that goes on in your life? All the silly stuff, all the stupid stuff that we've done. He already knows all of that. So we don't have to hide it. He knows it. And he's dealing with her on one level. And he's trying to minister to her because it's through her he's going to have access through all of Samaria. Now, I'm saying that because a lot of times in our life, we reject a lot of people because they don't look the way we look or act the way we act or come in appearance the way that we would come into a room. They're coming in barking at people because they've been wounded. And Jesus begins to recognize that this person with all these wounds can really give access to a whole community that his disciples can't give him access to. So some of your friends that you have at school that are hurting, some of the people that are working with you that are in despair, could be the greatest access that God can use in your life to win a community. But we want to only touch those that are religiously polished. But if you're ever having problems, the religiously polished will always kick you to the curb. They won't stand with you. I got one, that's right, in there. But anyway, so it goes on in this story. Verse 27. And it says, upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman. Yet no man said, "What seekest thou?" Or, "Why talkest thou to her?" In other words, the religious crowd was raising their eyebrow and questioning the intent of Jesus talking to a woman that was promiscuous. They were not even interested in the reason that he was really talking to her. They had already just assumed that his intentions were wrong. What I'm saying here is the religious crowd will always try to mark you with who you're talking to that you have wrong intentions. When your intentions can be totally pure. Isn't it funny how people are funny? That when we get a little bit of Jesus, we get it all together now. You know, and I'm not like them anymore. In all reality, it's only because we're saved by grace that we have the ability to say that I'm a believer, I'm a Christian now. Why is it that we get to a place where that we think that sometime we're better than others because we got a little bit of Jesus now? In all reality, if it wasn't for his grace and his mercy, we would be in a real mess. We'd have that lighter or that match just about to strike because of some of the stupid things we've done is about to engulf us in the flames that it has the capability of doing. Am I making sense here? Okay. It says, the woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city, and saith to the men, come and see a man which told me all things that I ever did. Is not this the Christ? Now, when you're looking at this, and I challenge you to go back and read this whole story, because it comes to a point where that she's looking at Jesus as just being somebody down there at the well. And then it goes to a place of calling him sir, and then goes to the next place of recognizing him as prophet, and then goes to the next place of recognizing him as the Messiah. In that, you can see that there are stages of revelation that come forward. He's just another person when she came to meet him, and now he's all of a sudden sir, but you don't know, but sir. And then, who do you think I am? He's a prophet. How do you know all these things? You tell him, and begins to recognize. Every one of us have stages of revelation that we go through to get to the place where God ultimately wants us to be. But he has to start somewhere with the revelation. And it might be a small revelation, but ultimately he brings us from victory to victory, from glory to glory, revelation to revelation. Does that make sense what I'm saying? An understanding of something that you have never understood before, but all of a sudden the windows open up and now you're able to see something totally different. I was told a story about a zoologist that brought a tour in Africa in the safari land, and they had the zoologist was in there and talking about all the tusk of the elephant, the skin of the elephant, and all the different animals, and pointing out all the animals, and there was a Zulu that was in there, a Zulu warrior that was in there just to protect them. Now, this man that had all this intellect was incredible in being able to explain everything about every animal that was there. But they couldn't find the elephant. And he was talking about the tusk, and he was talking about the trunk, and he was talking about how huge and how much he ate during the day. And they were scanning with their binoculars, trying to find the elephant. They could not find the elephant. So they moved on, and they're going just in a little circle, and they're seeing all these different animals, and the zoologist is pointing out through his knowledge and his understanding of books and everything. And they get to the end of the tour, and the zoologist is saying, I'm so sorry that we were not able to see the elephant today, and how huge the elephant is. And it would seem like that because the elephant was so big that they would have been able to see it anyway. And the Zulu stood up and he said, the elephant is right over here. Even with all the intellect that the zoologist had, it had to take someone with intuition to see the elephant. My point is this. You can read all you want in the Word of God and get school or get educated through the word of theology and all, but without revelation, you'll never be able to see the elephant. Without the understanding, without being able to walk this thing out, you'll never be able to see the obvious that is right in the room. I don't know where this is coming from. This stuff is just popping out. Let's go somewhere else here in the scripture. If you would, go with me to 2 Kings chapter 13. 2 Kings chapter 13. This is another interesting story, probably one of my favorite passages here. You have generations of kings that have come in, and it says that in the beginning of this word, for 30 years, for 17 years, these kings were following in the footsteps of the previous kings, and they were living not according to the way God wanted them to live. They were living according to their fathers, the way that their fathers lived. And it's easy to repeat what you have seen. The hard thing to do is to cut against the grain, to do something different than what you have been seeing portrayed before you all your life. You know, it's like, you know, my grandparents, both of my grandparents, my grandmothers made chicken and dumplings. My mom makes chicken and dumplings. My wife makes chicken and dumplings. But, you know, I had one grandmother that made dumplings and whatever she could put in a pot. I mean, we had squirrel dumplings. We had all, you know, all that. But the dumplings was always different. You know, I would sit there and watch one of my grandmothers, my mother's mother, would take this roller and she'd roll it out and throw flour on it, roll it out, make it real thin. And then she'd take a knife and slice them, and she'd pick them up one at a time and drop them in the pot one at a time like that. And boy, it was so good. The chicken was already cooking, the broth was already in there, and she put that, and oh man, I didn't get as big as I am. My dad's mother on the other side, she would take it and she would pound it out with her hand and make it real thin. And sometimes she would take the bottom of a pot and smash it down. And then she'd cut them. But she didn't take it lightly and very gingerly and put it in the pot. She would take it and roll it up in her hand almost and just throw the whole thing in the pot. It's like she didn't have time to take time. She raised 10 kids. You know, and I guess over time, you don't have a lot of time to slide. You got hungry mouths to feed and just throw it in there, get it over with. And so they were kind of chunky, you know. And so, man, I loved my dad's mom's chicken and dumplings, and I loved my mom's chicken and dumplings. But my mom never cooked the chicken and dumplings the way that my dad's mother's mom cooked it. She cooked it like her mother. It's like I hear people talking and I hear them, well, my mama did it this way, and that's the only way we do it. It's easy to do what you have seen done in your life. It's hard to make a change sometimes. And the king I'm about to read about here has seen generation after generation and after generation live a certain way. But when it came to a desperate place in their life, they noticed that they needed some change. And I think in everybody's life, we can find places that we need changed.